Hi, I'm Hippocrates, and this is a video response to Yoakum's video entitled Atheists Don't Exist, The Point. In that video, Jeff attempts to make the point that the convictions of those who claim to hold no belief in God are entirely based on an understanding that is non-externally verifiable and therefore unprovable, meaning atheists indeed can't prove they are atheist. Now, after reviewing the responses to his video, which I must say I was thoroughly disappointed in from both sides. It's my considered opinion that no serious consideration has been given to the assertion that atheists don't exist. And so this video response is an attempt to rectify that oversight. I'm a Christian theist, and I do not believe that atheists exist. Before I get into the reasons why I don't believe that, let me just state that I understand my opinion on the existence of atheists is meaningless unless I am able to justify that opinion to those who are self-proclaimed atheists, being those who are rather disinclined to accept the polemic assertion that atheists don't exist. And having said that, I must acknowledge that I cannot justify that assertion to an atheist, given the limited subset of information an atheist is willing to acknowledge in the nature of the assertion itself, meaning that inside the context of a natural materialistic worldview, it seems impossible to prove the non-existence of something that is not logically contradictory. So instead of trying to do the impossible, I'm just going to restate the premise in a way that we can mutually agree upon, and that is to say that I do not find there compelling evidence that atheists exist. Certainly there is evidence that people claim to be atheists. Certainly there might even be evidence that people think they are atheists. However, I do not believe the information that we have available, the evidence that we have available, is compelling to establish the case that atheists actually exist. Okay, first let me reply to one YouTuber's response to Yoakum's video. His name is S132, and in his response, he referred to the definition of atheism in the Wikipedia, I believe, in order to prove that atheists exist outside the context of those who claim that moniker. Okay, it doesn't work that way. You can't refer to the definition of something in order to prove the actuality of that mental abstraction. In order to actually prove something exists, you have to demonstrate it actually exists, not just refer to the concept. It's like you're trying to create an ontological argument for atheism. I don't understand where you're going with that. Nor do I understand how you could believe that it somehow justifies your position. That makes no sense to me. And you're very serious about it, and I just find it quite humorous, actually. Look, the question is not whether or not the concept of atheism exists. The concept of atheism exists. It's not debatable. The question is, does it properly apply to those who claim it, and what standards do we use to establish that claim? I, for one, don't find it compelling when someone says an atheist exists, or I'm an atheist, or I don't believe in God. I don't find it compelling evidence to prove that what they're saying is true. Okay? I just don't. I'll get into the reasons why in a moment, but you need to understand that I'm just not going to accept what you say because you say it. Yeah. Any more than you should accept what I say because I say it. For example, if I claim to be a Pastafarian, that I believe in a great flying spaghetti monster, do you accept that? Do you believe that? I mean, certainly, I've said it now. Certainly, it's probably true, isn't it? And of course not. We all know that we can lie, and we all know that there are a number of problems. I'll get into that in a second. Okay. By far, the most common response from atheists was to challenge the Christian to prove that he's a Christian, with the understanding that if both sides can use the same argument, then the argument is meaningless, since neither side can advance their position using that argument. However, the atheist has a couple of hurdles to overcome in order to be able to properly reverse this question. You see, when the atheist challenges the theist to prove he's a theist, he has to establish some level of criteria, some standard by which he will accept from amongst the available evidence as that which will establish certainty, or that which will prove that a person's claimed beliefs are their actual beliefs. Okay? The theist, on the other hand, in order to make statements like atheists don't exist, merely have to demonstrate that that knowledge is properly known inside the context of their atheistic epistemology. They do not have to create a standard by which to evaluate every atheist. I know that doesn't sound quite fair, but you have to understand that an atheist and a theist are operating under completely different ideas of how the world works. Okay? So while the atheist might like to think, if I can't prove that I'm a atheist, then you can't prove that you're a theist. Well, that might be true to the atheist, but that isn't true to the theist. Because the theist can prove to himself, using his own rationalization, which is properly deduced from his worldview, concerning what he believes. And he also, by the way, can prove what the atheist believes, even though the atheist can't even prove what he believes, at least according to the information that is properly deduced from the theistic worldview. Okay? But let's go ahead and talk about the standard that an atheist has to create in order to justify his belief concerning what he believes or what other people believe based on what they claim they believe. Okay, the standards that an atheist might use to accept an evidence for a person's claimed beliefs. Perhaps they will just accept a person's word. Or perhaps they will require some external evidences, however they justify it. And I have not seen a fully formed standard for which, from a perspective of an atheist, so I can't really comment intelligibly on it, other than to say, if there is one out there, I'd like to see it. I'd like to scrutinize it. But I think it's fairly obvious that just accepting what a person says about what they believe is not really a viable way of establishing a proof for what they believe. For example, my previous example of the flying spaghetti monster. You can't really trust that I believe in the flying spaghetti monster because I'm a Christian theist, and you don't know if I'm a Christian theist because I just said I believed in the flying spaghetti monster, so obviously there's an issue. Having said that, there's something that's even more fundamental and more important than being able to trust the reliability of what a person says, and that is to be able to trust the reliability of what we know about ourselves, what we know about what we believe. I'm going to make a rather broad philosophical generalization in that, and in doing so, I know that what I'm about to say is not going to apply to everybody who claims to be an atheist, but it will apply to a vast majority of them, and that is I'm going to equate atheism with natural materialism. And I'm going to take a look at a standard for determining non-belief from the perspective of a natural materialist, okay? Okay, so from the perspective of a natural materialist, what is a belief? When you break it down to its most fundamental level, a belief is a biochemical or biophysical marker that has an associated truth value stored in your brain. It is simply chemicals in your brain that tell you something is true, okay? It doesn't matter if it actually is true or not. You believe it. Your brain tells you it's true. So when a natural materialist claims he has no belief in a certain thing, essentially, well, let's talk about atheism, for example. If an atheist claims he has no belief in something, he's essentially saying that he has done a thorough search of all of the engrams in his brain, and he cannot find a single one that attests to the truth of God's existence. That there are no chemical markers or biophysical markers in his brain that have an associated truth value declaring the existence of God. That is the assertion. Okay, so when a natural materialist claims that he has no God belief, essentially what he's doing is making two separate assertions. One is that he's capable of analyzing all the engrams in his brain and determining if any of them have an attestation to the existence of God, and two, that he has done that and he has found none in his brain that attest to God's existence. Look, I don't want to doubt that he doesn't remember or he hasn't accessed any beliefs, but what I do doubt and what I'm increasingly skeptical about is his ability to analyze all the engrams that are contained in his brain to make that logical determination. Based on my experience, there's a considerable amount of information that I don't have direct access to by sheer force of my will at any given time. Information that comes out through streams of consciousness, information that comes out through dreams, information that exists that I might know that I have, but I can't access. I just don't see how they can justify the claim that they can analyze every single engram in their brain. And that's exactly what is required to be able to make the positive assertion that they have no belief